He's no stranger to us. Arif is, well, I really can say that he's a native of Toronto, but no, I'll go through the whole thing. But he is a Baraza member, and we're very proud to have him do a presentation to us. He's no stranger to the Toronto Jamaat members who know him through his community service to our Jamaat. He's also involved in our community affairs in other countries worldwide. He was born in Mozambique and he came to Canada in 1977. He went to university, studied economics and philosophy, and he worked for a couple of or a number of multinational companies before starting his own business in paper distribution and printing. He was exporting paper to Latin American countries, including Costa Rica, and in the mid-1990s, he helped establish a successful chain of dollar stores and arcades. That's in Costa Rica. He recently sold his interest in paper and printing company in Toronto, and now plans to permanently settle in Costa Rica. He's currently the project director to build the new stadium for Club Sport Herediano, as well as developing real estate projects in Costa Rica. He is married with 4 children, and over to Arif. Arif, all yours. Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear friends, Baraza Group I've been part of the Baraza Group for about 10 years now, and I want to thank the Baraza directors, Brother Shani Dugarsi, who has so wholeheartedly invited me to the group, and I feel like I'm part of the family. And as Nazmul Bhai said earlier, it doesn't hurt to recognize our pioneers of the Baraza Group. And again, I ask you to recite Surah Fatiha for all those that you see on your screen. And also to add my uncle who passed away yesterday, Marhum Pyarali Jadavji Dhanji, in Toronto, burial expected to be tomorrow, inshallah. So I would kindly request you to please recite the Surah Fatiha for all of them and all our Marhumeen. So, Costa Rica. Costa Rica obviously is a Spanish word meaning the rich coast. It's a land of richness and diversity. A lot of times when I tell people Costa Rica, they always tend to confuse Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is what you hear a lot on national television because it's part of the United States. But Costa Rica obviously is not Puerto Rico. It's not an island. Costa Rica is located in Central America between Panama to the south and Nicaragua to the north. It has 2 coasts, the Atlantic coast or the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. You can actually, see the sunrise on the Caribbean side, which is the eastern side, and drive to the western side within 4 or 5 hours and see the sunset. Both beautiful things to experience in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica, where are you? So I did this map again to sort of differentiate between Puerto Rico and Costa Rica. As you can see, Puerto Rico is on the east of Dominican Republic, and it's an island. And Costa Rica is not an island. It is a part of the Central American Isthmus, and it's located south of Nicaragua, north of Panama, and it's approximately 2,000. Yeah.
Arif, we don't see your screen.
Oh, you don't see my screen?
You see you.
Oh, I said it. Stop share. So I said this. Now, you see the screen?
Yep.
So I'll go back. I spoke about, but you heard everything I said, I hope.
Yes, yes, we heard everything.
Okay, so again, Costa Rica is about due south from Toronto, approximately 3,800 kilometers. And that's about 5.5 hour direct flight from Toronto. And Air Canada last year was flying flights during the summer season, which is summer season. Costa Rica is between November and April. It was flying 3 times a week from Toronto direct. And during the winter season, they dropped to the rainy season. I apologize. They dropped to twice a week, I believe. But there are direct flights. Well, there are flights every day from Toronto. The ones that go through other countries, like Avianca flights from, they go by El Salvador, Panama. Flights go through Panama, as well as many, many flights that go through the United States. Dallas, Houston, Miami, New Jersey, New York, all have connections to Costa Rica. And just to give you sort of an idea, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and then there's Costa Rica, and then lastly it's Panama, which basically makes it's part of Central America and not North America, because North America basically is considered to be Mexico, Canada, United States, and then South America is below Colombia and so forth. So within Costa Rica, the political geography of Costa Rica is that Costa Rica is divided into 7 provinces. However, the capital of Costa Rica is San Jose, and within San Jose is located in the Central Valley, and within San Jose and the surrounding cities are the capital cities of the respective provinces, as you can see in the map. So that Central Valley region actually happens to have a population of about 3.5 million people, which account for about 70% of the Costa Rican population. So Costa Rica first was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1502. And after overcoming the indigenous population, Costa Rica became part of the Captaincy General of Guatemala as a province of Spain. It remained part of the colony of Spain for 300 years. In the 1820 to 21 War of Independence, the Mexican War of Independence, Costa Rica became part of the Mexican Empire, eventually gaining its independence in 1821. And Costa Rica then was part of sort of the Mexican Guatemala sort of empire, and then it gained its full independence under a constitutional republic in 1947. And in 1947, they had a civil war, and after that civil war, they realized that they didn't want to have an army anymore, and they made a constitutional amendment in 1948, which was approved in 1949, that there shall be no army in Costa Rica. In fact, one of the sayings in Costa Rica is that we changed our army from a military army to an army of teachers, and all of the monies that used to go to funding the military now goes to fund education. And as a result, Costa Rica boasts a literacy rate of about 97%, which is one of the highest in the world, if not in the Western Hemisphere. So Costa Rica is a constitutional democracy with the head of state being elected for a term of no more than 4 years, 4-year terms. And the head of state cannot hold office for concurrent terms, which means that if the president today, the next election, he cannot rerun like what's happening in the United States. However, if you've heard of the name of Oscar Arias, who was the Nobel Prize winner, he was the first president that got reelected, but only after he had left office. So again, the constitutional rule is that you cannot run for office concurrently, which means you cannot hold 2 terms one after the other. You have to resign from the office, or you could resigning meaning when your office term is over, you have to wait at least a minimum of 1 term before you can run for elections again. And in that case, this was a recent change that happened after the change of the Supreme Court justices that basically said, yes, it never said you cannot run for more terms, except it said that you cannot run for concurrent terms. So this is a new thing that's happened, and the only president that has run for 2 terms is the Nobel Prize laureate for Peace, Oscar Arias. The Legislative Assembly, like what we have, our Parliament is elected as well for a 4-year term, and the Supreme Court is then appointed by the executive. As I mentioned earlier, there are 7 provinces that make up Costa Rica. Their names are San Jose Province, which is also has the capital San Jose City, Cartago, Heredia, Alajuela, Punta Arenas, Limon, and Guanacaste. The 2 airports that are international airports in Costa Rica exist in San Jose Province, and one in Guanacaste, which is called Liberia, the city of Liberia, which is where you can fly in internationally any one of those 2 airports. And there are, at the peak in 2019, there used to be approximately 50 flights a day going into Costa Rica in either one of those 2 airports. The population of Costa Rica for 2020 was reported as 5 million inhabitants, with as many as 400,000 transients. So the basic population is about 5.5 million in Costa Rica. Transits meaning there could be some illegals that are mostly from Nicaragua and or other Central American countries, as well as tourists, people who are just there for a short period of time. So usually it's about 5.5 million people at any point in time in Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, Pura Vida is the name that people usually associate with Costa Rica, sort of like the mantra, and it literally means pure life. But Costa Rica is known for its flora and fauna and rich diversity of species. It has over 500,000 species, which represents about 5% of the total number of species on our planet. It is a preferred location for tourists who want to visit its beaches and appreciate the diversity of species and green spaces. In 2019, close to 2 million visitors came to Costa Rica to work and play. The fastest growing sector of the economy, therefore, is and has been tourism. So the top 5 reasons why people visit Costa Rica. Obviously, it has an amazing biodiversity. Its pristine beaches will leave you breathless. You will never get tired with all the adventure activities you can do in Costa Rica, like ziplining, whitewater rafting, bird watching, surfing, deep sea fishing, active volcanoes, hot water springs, and obviously taste a great variety of fruits and vegetables. It is actually considered to be one of the happiest countries in the world. And you can't avoid falling in love with Costa Ricans, who are called ticos. A brief pictorial about Costa Rica and the beauty of Costa Rica, with beautiful beaches, fresh water, waterfalls, volcanoes, and obviously the beautiful sunsets. Costa Rica has both a public and private healthcare system. Costa Rica provides healthcare, universal healthcare to all its citizens and permanent residents. And Costa Rica offers some of the best healthcare in Latin America. I know that's important. Coming from a country like Canada, we often think, well, how's the healthcare system there? From my own experiences, I mean, the private healthcare system is very good. Obviously, it's expensive, but the public healthcare system sometimes has better equipment, because the private healthcare system doesn't always have the best of equipment. So sometimes the public healthcare system actually can offer you better healthcare at a much cheaper cost. So, like I said, World Health Organization frequently placed Costa Rica in the top countries of the world, and I think in 2000, it was considered to be the 36th best healthcare system, even above the United States of America. In addition to that, the United Nations also ranked Costa Rica within the top 20 healthcare systems in the world. And most of the doctors are either trained in Europe, Canada, United States, and even Costa Rica has a very excellent medical university system. So Costa Rica has 2 systems of healthcare. Unlike Canada, we have primarily a public healthcare system, but Costa Rica has 2 healthcare systems, public and private. Everybody has to pay into the public healthcare system, even though they may choose to buy additional insurance for private healthcare. So in 2010, the government instituted a law where all resident applications must pay into the public healthcare system. The cost is approximately $50 US a month, whereas private health insurance can cost you anywhere from $100 to $500 per month, depending on what coverage and what pre-existing conditions you may have. Most of the private hospitals, however, are located in San Jose area where the majority of the population is. But a lot of the retirees that come don't necessarily want to live in San Jose because they're trying to get away from all the, the city life and want to live near a beach and whatnot. And so that is basically a bit of a problem for accessing hospital care because sometimes, although it's a small country, but due to the roads and the infrastructure, it may take you anywhere between minimum 1.5 hours to about 4 or 5 hours to get to the Grand Metropolitan area, which is in the Central Valley where most of the private hospitals are. And in that case, a lot of people do prefer to have access to public hospitals, which are basically available in major parts of every province. And right now they're looking at building another private hospital in Liberia, which I spoke about earlier, which is in the northwest section of the country, part of the Guanacaste province, which is where the second international airport is. And because there's a lot of increasing flights from USA, Europe, and Canada going into that airport. Most of the private doctors in Costa Rica usually work for the public health system because that's where they get the majority of their income. And then on their days off, they maintain a clinic either on their days off or usually after their daytime hours, maintain a private clinic for private patients. And it's not unheard of where in Costa Rica, you can actually ask a doctor to come and visit you at home for about $50 per visit. Most of these doctors are internationally trained and speak English, although Costa Rica has a well-renowned and established university for the study of medicine as well. So as you know, health and climate often are related. Extreme weather and being cocooned inside during harsh winter months certainly is a contributing factor to reducing health and vitality. Costa Rica has no weather extremes. Its annual daytime temperatures range from 21 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius. It is just beautiful all year round. Except I may say, like during the months of October now, this is the reason why I'm in Canada right now, it is a very, very heavy rains and it generally rains almost all day, if not for at least half of the day. So the rainy season, so there's only 2 seasons in Costa Rica. One is the dry season, which is from November 15th to about April 15th, and the rainy season, which is May to November. However, in the rainy season, the humidex does reach as high as 35 degrees Celsius. And it can be uncomfortable, but for a very short period of time, which often gets, when the rains come in, then usually in the afternoon, it tends to cool off. And the evenings are very, very pleasant and, with beautiful breezes and for a nice, beautiful stroll on the beach or a boardwalk or anything. So due to its moderate temperatures and close proximity to the USA, Canada, Costa Rica has become a go-to place for many adventure seekers. The Costa Rican economy has been growing at a rate of 3+% on an annualized basis, which is contributing to a drop in the poverty rate from a high of 28% in the late 1990s to a low rate of 17% in 2019. Obviously, with this pandemic, things have changed slightly, and Costa Rica has suffered because airport closures and Costa Rica has actually closed airports as well. Only recently opening up the airports to Canada and Europe in August. And now as of November 1st, it's basically open to the rest of the world because they are suffering badly and they need the tourists back. The average GDP in 2019 was $12,500 US per person, resulting in about $65 billion in the economy, generated in the economy in 2019. The main drivers of the economy, therefore, are tourism, microprocessors, and medical instruments, as well as IT services and agriculture. So let's talk about tourism. Tourism, particularly ecotourism, has been a driving force for the Costa Rican economy for many, many years. There have been numerous boutique hotels that offer exceptional personal services geared towards health and wellness that are extremely successful. And also there are the 5-star, 7-star hotels that you probably have heard of that also have established beachhead in Costa Rica. Costa Rica has also enjoyed a boom in IT services industry due to its proximity and time advantage to the North American market. Because of its high literacy rates, and many multinational companies have their head offices for Central America in Costa Rica. Companies like Walmart, Amazon, Procter & Gamble, Colgate, Palmolive, Kraft Foods, etc. So many of the companies mentioned previously employ people who are bilingual, Spanish and English. Hence, schools teaching English as a second language have seen an explosive growth in the country. And medical instruments and microprocessors. I thought, wow, that's very interesting. So Costa Rica was the largest exporter of microprocessors in Central America from 2010 to 2016, due to the largest Intel plant outside of the US being located in Costa Rica. The plant subsequently became a quality assurance plant, however, has maintained an employment base of high-income earners. At one point, that has actually employed over 10,000 people, but however, they've moved some operations to where the markets are closer, specifically China and in that part of the world. But they love to stay in Costa Rica because of the high value of education and a lot of good quality people that are able to ensure good quality assurance for Intel products. This has helped tremendously in companies moving to Costa Rica for other high-tech industries such as medical instrumentation and other medical devices. The agriculture sector, which is always the predominant driver of the economy, has given way to the new economy. However, it's still a large part of the economy coming in third is the largest component of economic activity. There has been a huge growth in teak plantations in Costa Rica, which has contributed to migration from the Indian subcontinent, from farmers and brokers of teak, as most of this crop gets exported to India and Malaysia for furniture manufacturing. If you ever bought teak furniture, think about it, it might be coming from Costa Rica, all the way to India, being manufactured and coming back to your house in North America. The Indian population influx has brought with them a lot of items that we used to find difficult to purchase, such as rice, basmati rice, and all these things. We used to have to take it with us in our bags and many things. But now there are some restaurants that have opened up, and they started to bring all these things in. So it's a lot easier. You can make connections with the restaurateurs and tell them that every time they bring rice, you can buy the rice from them and whatever else you may need. However, and there's a lot of Middle Eastern restaurants as well, and restaurants, a lot of different types of restaurants. So a lot of Europeans have migrated to Costa Rica, and as such, they have a lot of really nice restaurants, French, Italian restaurants. And one of my favorite places to go is a place called La Fabrica. If you do happen to go to Costa Rica, check them out. It's a fantastic, middle cost Italian pizza pasta restaurant that has excellent salads and great food. You'll really love it. So I know we're talking amongst Khojas and Muslims, and the question is, are you going to feel alone when you're there? And religion, obviously Costa Rica is was part of the Spanish Empire, and as such is primarily 90% of the people there are Catholics and Christians, Catholics. A very small portion are then Muslims, Jews, and other religions. And so where did the Muslims come from? So the majority of the Muslims, funny enough, came to Costa Rica after the Iranian Revolution in 1979. There was a person by the name of Yazdani, who was the right-hand man of the Shah. Found his way to Costa Rica, and with the help of the Costa Rican government, he brought with him 50 plus families to help him work in the farms in Costa Rica. Many of these Muslims, predominantly Shias, who are living in Costa Rica today, are the offspring of these first pioneers that came after the Iranian Revolution. Additionally, many Palestinians, because of the war, Palestine and Israel and Lebanon, have also, when they fled, they found themselves in countries that were safe havens for them, like Nicaragua, Venezuela, and eventually therefrom they came to Rica because it was much safer and offered much better opportunities. And they've also established a small Muslim community as well. So from my knowledge, the first Khoja who migrated to Costa Rica was in the late 70s and early 80s. And subsequently, my family has migrated to Costa Rica from, I believe, the late 80s and onwards. And beyond that, there's been many other Khoja families that have come to Costa Rica and established their businesses. Some of them have just established businesses and went back to their home countries. Others have stayed there. And from what I can see is approximately about 10 Khoja families that have come from the Toronto, North American region that are living in Costa Rica as of today. And there are also 50 other Shia families that are in Costa Rica. They could be from Iranian descent, Lebanese descent, Iraqi descent, and those parts. Plus, there are many more Muslim families that are from Algeria, Northern Africa, and other parts of the Middle East. Most of the Khoja families, since we're all Khojas here, and have established businesses in real estate, printing, retail, recycling, teak farming, IT services, restaurants, hotels, etc. I have personally been traveling to Costa Rica since 1994, as mentioned in the bio. I helped establish a chain of dollar stores and arcades in the mid to late 90s. Subsequently moved back to Canada and was working in a multinational paper company, and thereafter with a multinational consulting company. And then I established my own paper distribution company, and I started exporting to Costa Rica. And I've been, since 2012, I started a real estate development in Costa Rica. And today I'm working on a stadium project for the third largest football team in Costa Rica called Club Sport Herediano. This is a 17,000 seat stadium with conference rooms and commercial space, as well as many other features that we're going to make part of premier site in Costa Rica, trying to get into LEED Platinum certification, inshallah. And that club is partially owned by my brother in Akil, who's been residing in Costa Rica since the early 90s. So how do you get to Costa Rica? Well, there are about 6 different ways that you can go to Costa Rica. Obviously, the easiest one is tourist. If you're Canadian, you can just take a flight and you land in Costa Rica. They give you a 90-day visa. Or you can just tell them you're here for 10 days. They give you a 10-day visa, but you can stay up to 90 days without any issues. But you must leave before the 90 days is up. A lot of people have chosen that route and they become what they call perpetual tourists. So they stay for 90 days, leave the country for a day or 2 days, they come back, or they leave the country for longer periods of time and come back. And there's no questions asked. You can open up a bank account, but you cannot earn income in Costa Rica. For those seeking to become permanent residents, there are multiple options. One is pensionado, which means retired. Rentista, somebody who owns a property and is renting the property. An investor. A representante, which means a representative of a corporation. And a permanent residency. So go through each one of these separately. And so for the pensionado, it's very simple. It just requires $1,000 per month income from permanent pension source or retirement fund. You must visit Costa Rica at least once a year. And you can claim a spouse and dependents under 18. You cannot work as an employee. You can own a company and receive dividends from that company. So rentista requires proof of $2,500 per month income for at least 2 years, guaranteed by a banking institution, or you deposit $60,000 US in an approved Costa Rican bank. One amount covers the whole family. So you could have a family of 2, 5, 6, 7, it doesn't matter. You must visit Costa Rica at least once a year. and you can claim your spouse and dependents under 18 years of age. You again cannot work as an employee, and you can own a company and receive dividends from that company. As an investor, you must invest in a business, $200,000 or a property. You must visit Costa Rica once a year. You can claim spouse and dependents, and you can only earn income allowed from the project. And you can own a company and receive dividends. Legal representative of a corporation. You must be a director of a company meeting certain requirements, such as employing a minimum number of local workers as established by labor law, with financial statements certified by a public accountant. You must visit Costa Rica for at least once a year. You can claim spouse, dependents under 18 years of age, and you can earn an income from the company, and you can own a company and receive income from that company. And a permanent residency. So for permanent residency, you need a first-degree relative status with a Costa Rican citizen through marriage to citizen or having a Costa Rican child. Or you may apply after 3 years in any other status. So if you're a pensionado, you can, after 3 years, apply for permanent residency. If you are any of the other residencies, then you can apply for this one after 3 years. You must also visit Costa Rica at least once a year. You can claim a spouse and dependents under 18 years of age. You can work for somebody and earn employment income, or you can own your own company and receive income from that company. So Costa Rica, known as Pura Vida, and Pura Vida, the literal translation of it is pure life. However, it means a lot more than that. In its essence, it means enjoy life, leave your troubles behind, breathe the fresh air, enjoy nature and its beauty, and be respectful to nature and what it provides to humanity. Costa Rica has been at the forefront of ecological preservation, and many of its beaches maintain a pristine natural vibe. So I invite you to come and enjoy Costa Rica and have a taste of Pura Vida. Thank you so much. And any questions, I'll be glad to answer. If you want, I can share the video presentation of the stadium that we're building, time allowing. Thank you.
Okay, are we back on? Okay, thank you, Arif. That was excellent. I think a lot of information there, and I'm sure there'll be a few questions or more than a few questions. So the questions may be sent through the chat box. I hope most of you sort of know how to send the questions in. If you raise your hand, I won't be able to see you, or I may miss you. Best thing is to send it by chat. Now, I have a question while we are waiting for questions from the audience. Is it a socialist or a capitalist country?
Capitalist with socialist inclinations. But basically, you make your money and nobody's going to give it to you for free. So, but there is a social framework like it is in Canada. Not as good as Canada, but certainly there is, and they're trying to get better and better at it.
Okay, great. Question on immigration. Do they allow dual citizenship?
Yes, they do.
So that's not an issue. Right.
Just a caveat that you must visit Costa Rica in order to maintain your residency if you're a resident, but eventually you can become a citizen. And I believe there's a process of 5 years beyond your, so how the classification of permanent residency was after 3 years of any other type of residency, you then, after you become a permanent resident for 5 years, then you can apply for citizenship. And once you have citizenship, then you don't have any of the caveats of having to go to Costa Rica. You maintain that citizenship of that country forever, unless you forego it.
Okay, great, thank you. I have an assistant helping out, a moderator. Do we have any questions, Ms. Moderator?
What are the tax rates for individuals in CR from other international income?
So in this case, well, it depends on what country your other income is from. But if you are applying for tax, if you're applying for residency, for example, in Costa Rica, using your income from the origin country, and there are many instances where there's a tax, what do you call that? Tax agreement between the countries, so you don't get double taxed. So where you might pay tax in Costa Rica, you might then not have to pay tax in the country that you are getting that income from. So that I don't know. I don't have the exact numbers on that, but obviously there are those tax accords between countries so that you don't get hit with double taxation.
Okay. What motivated your family to move there?
Well, my family moved there. Originally, my family, my siblings, my brothers, went there because they were in the coffee business and they were basically chasing coffee, I guess you can say. And they found themselves purchasing a coffee plantation because they had a coffee business in North Carolina. And then that plantation became a real estate plaza. And then that's how I got involved, because that plaza had some empty stores. And then so we set up a dollar store, and we set up an arcade, and we set up a pizza shop. And that's how things came about. I came back to Canada and I joined a large paper manufacturing conglomerate by the name of Domtar. And then I got into the paper business and started distributing paper back to Costa Rica because I had known the place, and it was needing a lot of paper because as it was a growing place. So the reason why my family moved there was obviously for the coffee business.
Okay, I'm just going through the chat. We have a few more questions. Very quick question on currency and exchange rates. What is the local currency there? And what's the exchange rate with Canadian dollars? Or is US
the local
dollar
currency is
right?
The local currency is called the Costa Rican colon. And the exchange rate is, there's full repatriation of currency, so there's no limitations. So it's usually an exchange rate in US dollars on a daily basis. Currently, it's 603 colones for $1 US. So the relative rate to Costa Rica, to Canadian dollars is about 450, 475, within that range. So $1 Canadian to 475 Costa Rican colones. Now, just to give you a perspective, if you were to go to Costa Rica and start purchasing canned goods and packaged goods, you would find it more expensive than living in Canada. I mean, when I was there for a month prior to this, and my wife wasn't there, so I was just eating out a lot and going to, Walmart to buy packaged and canned stuff. And like I was finding it, like I call my wife and say, "Wow, this is expensive," So what's good about Costa Rica, you can buy fresh fruits and vegetables on a local market on a weekly basis. They have the local, more fresh markets that used to be here in the olden days, or from our experiences in Africa, we used to go to the local market, and they have all these farmers coming in on a weekly basis, either Saturday and or Sunday, to your local region. And you buy all the fresh fruits and vegetables that you can eat for the week, and probably you won't even spend $20. So if you have a good appetite for fresh fruits and vegetables, you can live there healthy and very, very cheap. But if you have an appetite for canned goods and packaged goods, a box of cornflakes going to take you back $7, $8 US.
Got it.
I stopped eating cornflakes.
So for an immigrant, would you advise to buy or rent? Is owning property more expensive, or what's your sense?
Owning property in Costa Rica is expensive, relatively speaking, to other countries, but it's cheap relative to Canada and the US, right? So, for example, you can buy a place for $100,000, which is good enough. You know, depends on what you like, or you can buy properties for $2-3 million. You know, it's to your liking, but you can get a good place in a good area, you know, 3-bedroom for about $250 if you're in the city, probably a little bit cheaper if you're outside of the city. And if you're in the beach towns or whatever, you can get something for about a really nice place for anywhere between 100 to 200,000. Or you can rent. Usually the rents are usually furnished apartments or furnished houses, or you can negotiate. All the real estate business and rental is usually done relative to US dollars, but you can also do it through the local currency. So the local currency, the rent usually goes up a little bit higher because they're protecting themselves and hedging themselves from the loss of the exchange rate.
If you want to set up a business, is it a must to have Spanish language fluency?
I wouldn't say it's a must. I think we've had other people from our community have gone to Costa Rica without any Spanish language fluency. But there's always somebody that you're going to need beside you that is going to help you navigate through that, because even with me, like I come from Mozambique, so it's a Portuguese speaking colony, and I had some Portuguese background, so it was a little bit easier for me. But that was a long time from when I stopped speaking Portuguese to when I started going to Costa Rica, and it was difficult. So there's a lot of words and stuff like that that are difficult, but you always have to have either a lawyer or somebody who's a friend of yours, or somebody who's already there. And now that we have a decent amount of community down there, for anybody coming to live in Costa Rica, I'm sure everybody who's living there right now would be glad to assist, because familiar faces, you just miss them. You miss your people. You don't see them a lot, and when they want to come to Costa Rica, you want to do all that you can to help them establish themselves there, either through retiree or even in setting up a business or whatever. So yes, Spanish is not a must, but it is certainly a requirement. And over time, you just pick up the language.
What is the COVID-19 situation over there?
So the COVID-19 situation right now, in a population of 5 million, they're basically getting at a rate of about 1,000 a day. And they have been like that for the last 2-3 months. The testing obviously is not as good as it is in Canada. But when I was there, for example, I'm working with the club. And so when I'm working with the club, they have a test every week, because the club is traveling to different parts of the country, playing football. And so because I'm part of that club, I also have to take a test. So I got tested about 3 times while I was there. Alhamdulillah, I was negative all the times. But the COVID-19 situation is pretty bad, but you can move around. And the good thing is that people are quite observant of the health, the guidelines, such as wearing masks. You won't see anybody outside not wearing masks, and especially you won't see anybody being allowed in a store without a mask.
What is the availability of halal meat?
So we have a guy by the name of Shabbar. He migrated from Africa, from Tanzania, and he's our meat guy. So he goes once a month, and we'll do halal chickens, and it will. So the group basically gets together and says they're going to do a halal goat or a cow, and everybody takes a part of it. I think that's how it works. I haven't been living there on a permanent basis yet, so I haven't encountered that, because I just asked my brother and he says, okay, come and pick up the halal meat. When my mom was there, she has like 5 freezers that she used to have full of meat. So I never encountered that. But I think we do have people that do the halal meat on a monthly basis, and then they just get together and then they order their stuff, and somebody goes to the farm and gets all the halal stuff done and brings it back to them.
Is there rampant or subtle corruption to get things done?
The answer is subtle, not rampant.
Okay,
So,
and what is the
better than an African country, I suppose, or like what we may have heard of India, Pakistan, but it's like every place else, like you can get things done if you know people, and things can stop you if you don't know people, and so forth. So one of the reasons why I decided to move there is because I was having a lot of problems with my real estate project, and precisely because when you're not there, you just can't get things done as fast as you can, and you could lose a lot of money and so forth, especially in real estate development. And so I've decided, okay, I'm going to stop everything that I'm doing outside of Costa Rica and just go there and just deal with that situation. And yeah, so what I found out, when I'm there, I can get things done, and if I know people, I can get things done much faster.
what is the crime rate?
Well, over the last 20 years that I've been going back and forth to Costa Rica, I've only once, when I was renting an apartment, and then I was sort of like decided to move back sort of on a semi-permanent basis to Canada. I put my belongings up for sale, and the landlady allowed these group of people that went into my apartment. There was 5 or 6 of them that went in there and to show the place. And then when I got back home, my computer was stolen, so my laptop. So that's the only encounter I've had with crime over the last 20 odd years I've been there. Not that there is no crime, but like everything else, like you don't go to areas like Jane and Finch in the middle of the night in Toronto, to give you some perspective. You don't go to certain areas of the city in the middle of the night, but generally speaking, crime is very low relatively to other Central American countries, and you feel quite safe there. But you have to be careful.
You don't hear of gun violence, like you do in Toronto, for example?
No. Remember, there's no army, and the police don't carry guns. So only a special police forces can carry guns. So for that reason, there's no gun violence per se. But there has been. Costa Rica was like the sort of the drop-off point to Central American cartels or drug cartels that use Costa Rica. And you've seen movies, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, big part of that drug situation. So there has been some, but overall, it's not part of your normal day-to-day routine where you hear about gun violence or anything like that. And if there is, it's precluded to some drug culture or drug gangs that are involved, and nothing to do with normal day-to-day living and just random violence.
For retirees wanting to come to Costa Rica, what would be the best starting point to arrange accommodation and travel arrangement?
Well, Nazmul is setting up a tour, I think, post-COVID. Well, we've been talking to the Baraza group for the last 2, 3, 4 years. I think Ibrahim is smiling also. He's there willing and able to come. So like I said, there's like 20, say 10, 15 Koja families there already. If to come to Costa Rica doesn't take much, you can come and enjoy a holiday just to feel the space. And, and if you want to say, think of moving there as a retiree or anything like that, then you can, contact us. We can put you in touch with some, lawyers and so forth and so on. So the good thing is you're not a pioneer per se in Costa Rica as a Koja, community member. You always have somebody to guide you along there.
You say for the most part that Costa Ricans are honest people and keep their word?
No, I can't say that. just like everywhere else, there are a lot of good people. There's a lot of bad people. I've run into both, and for example, in my case, like I have an Airbnb hotel. It was basically shut down for 9 months or 7 months during COVID, and my architect, he was going there every day and making sure that nothing was taken or stolen or whatever. And so he's one of the good guys, but I run into him only after running into many, many bad guys that probably would have left nothing in the building. It's a totally furnished building. So, we have 14 TVs, 14 apartments fully furnished. Eventually it could have happened that when I came back, it'd just be empty apartments. But, I'm lucky, but I've been there for a long time. So I've gone through my phase of shall we say, bad people. Like everywhere else, you go through some bad people, and generally, I wouldn't say necessarily that they're just good people by nature. They're good-natured people, but if you leave your doors open and leave your windows open, then I suppose that you are just asking for trouble.
Any more questions, moderator? No? Okay.
Not in the chat.
Not in the chat. Any other questions, anybody? We are, timing wise, we are doing pretty well. I think we've done pretty well. Arif, you covered a lot of ground there. You answered all the questions. You obviously have full understanding and the practical aspects of living in Costa Rica. So, all right, no, that's just a mess. Yeah, so that's great. Thank you so much, Arif. You've done a wonderful job. Now we will have a recording of this session available, and it will be sent out on request. I don't want to inundate your inbox with unnecessary emails. We are working on future programs, so stay tuned. And do spread the word, and your family, friends, they're all welcome. It's a Zoom session, so we can accommodate many more people. So there we go. Again, Arif, wonderful. Thanks for the info, and we'll keep in touch. All the best in Costa Rica.
By the way, this is a real Costa Rican background. That's what it looks like.
You are in Costa Rica, we know that.
And this is the volcano, the Arenal volcano. It's got a nice, tip, and it's an active volcano. So if you're lucky, you can see the lava flowing down, in a clear night. It's actually gorgeous.
Yes.
So I invite you all to come and share and enjoy what Costa Rica has to offer. And
right.
If I'm there while you visit, kindly look me up, and I'll be glad to share any and all information I have available.
So why didn't you tell us about the hot springs?
Okay, so this volcano, there's hot springs everywhere, right? So this volcano is called Volcano Arenal because it's located in a town called Arenal. It actually erupted, I believe, in the 50s and 60s. And one side of the mountain is basically blown off, and it killed a lot of people. And so what they've done with this area, it's become a very hot tourist attraction. And in fact, some of the hotels there can go as high as $300 a night, the ones that have a beautiful view of the volcano. And there's tons of hot springs. There's a place where you can actually go visit, I think it's $20 or $25 entry for the day. And you can visit the multiple different hot springs mixed in with pool water. Some of it's hot to your liking, waterfalls. You just feel like you're in the middle of the jungle, but you're like in a very, very updated environment. So it is, it's just a sight to see. You'll never forget it. It is just unbelievable. So I would highly recommend this. It's one of my favorite places. And for beach towns, I like a place called Manuel Antonio, which is a sort of secluded within a national park. So you can actually go to the beach and then go inside the national park, and you'll find monkeys and parrots and birds and all this kind of stuff that one would enjoy. And it's actually enjoying nature the way you used to enjoy it. Like if you go to a beautiful beach in the US, in Miami, you're looking at the beach, it's gorgeous, and you turn around and it's a concrete jungle behind you. So if you replace those buildings to mountains and trees, and that's what Costa Rica is about, and you see a couple of secluded places where you'll see a house there and a little boutique hotel. They don't allow rampant construction on beach, and they don't allow ownership of beach property. You get a concession for as much as 50 years or 75 years, even if you're building one of the most expensive resorts like the Marriott or the Regency hotels that are actually in Four Seasons as well in Costa Rica. So they're at the beach, but they don't have beach ownership. They have concession ownership for between 50 to 75 years. So you will never see these high-rise hotels and all that kind of stuff. The only place that you see that in Costa Rica is in a place called Jaco, which is about an hour and a half drive from, an hour and 15 minutes drive from San Jose. And it's Jaco, but it's actually pronounced Jaco. And that's like because it was a surfing town and a lot of surfers used to come there. So that was like one of the places where it started getting developed very early on. And it's been going on for 20, 25, 30 years. So.
Fantastic. Excellent. So a couple of quick
There were
last
two
two
more
sessions.
questions.
Sorry?
There were
Go ahead.
two more questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the Tabacon Resort. Yeah, it's near there. I'm reading the chat. But go ahead. You ask me the question. You're a great moderator.
Oh, yeah, it was that question.
Is that question?
Well, there's a couple of private ones. There's how are the beaches in Costa Rica? And I think you partly covered that. I think they're beautiful, and you had some pictures as well. Malaria, is that an issue there, being a tropical climate?
No, malaria is not an issue. I haven't experienced any malaria. There's not a lot of, there's bugs everywhere, but I haven't experienced any malaria issues, no. And the Tabacon Resort that the Murtaza is talking about, it's near there. It's near that area. So if you go in the Arenal area from the volcano, that's where a lot of the hot springs, emanate from. And Tabacon is actually a beautiful resort that's near that area. And it's a safe drive around on a rental 4x4. It's just, you can just enjoy the country, in 1 week you can see a lot. If you're more adventurous, you can stay longer and do many of the things like zip lining. I've experienced zip lining myself, and it's like, through jungle to jungle, tree to tree. It's like you never see the sun. That's how deep the forest is. And it's like, wow, you feel like you're part of nature altogether. And yeah, they've done a really good job with that. And a lot of people are coming for that reason. But a lot of people come for the ecotourism, right? So ecotourism, meaning you're always going to feel like you're part of nature. You're not just going to see a big, massive hotel someplace and, barren land. You're always going to feel like you're part of nature. And part of nature means you sometimes run into things that are in nature, right? Like animals that you may not see in Miami. You'll see them there.
Excellent. Okay. I think we exhausted all the questions now. So once again, Arif.
There's one hand up.
One more. All right. Okay. Very quickly. We'll do that and then we'll close. Murtaza. Unmute yourself. Murtaza. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Okay, well, let me see if I can. Okay.
I've
can
asked him to unmute. He has not unmuted yet.
Okay, you can't unmute him, right?
Zoom only allows you to ask the participant to unmute.
Okay, Murtaza going once, going twice, gone. All right, sorry, Murtaza. Okay, Arif, thanks again. Really appreciate your effort and a lot of information. I know if we have any more questions, we'll get in touch with you. And stay tuned. We might just come there as a group, right? So be ready.
That's good. You're in charge, as always.
I'm in charge. Oh no. Shannon
Just,
Douglas is doing a
you
wonderful
set it up.
job.
Everybody talk to Nasbul. He'll set it up, and we'll bring the whole group over and have a really jolly good time. You'll
Yeah.
believe me. You'll
Someone
love it.
else has their hand raised and they're unmuted.
I don't know if you can you hear me? It's Murtaza again. I had some technical difficulties.
Bola Murtaza bhai.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry I joined a little late. I had another Zoom call. This question may have been asked to Arif already, but what is the pandemic situation in Costa Rica? Is it safe to travel there? I'm told the borders are still closed, right?
So before October 26th, tomorrow, so before that, you have to have a COVID test, PCR COVID test with a negative result 72 hours before travel. And you had to fill in this form, which you still have to. And you had to purchase insurance either pre or in Costa Rica, which costs you about $9 a day, which covers you for any COVID-related issues. As of November 1st, there is no more PCR test required. You are still required to fill in that form, and you are required to fill in the form and buy the insurance, either pre-arrival or at arrival in Costa Rica for $9 US a day, which I think is the safest bet to do, by the way, because the language of the insurance policies has to be very particular. So you may purchase an insurance policy here in Canada and then have them rejected and still have to purchase the insurance locally. It's just a bureaucracy that exists in Costa Rica like you would expect in any other country. So my recommendation is to just avoid the expense pre and just buy the insurance locally when you arrive. It's very simple. They just take you to within the airport. You just go to a different room and then they take your credit card and that's it. And with respect to COVID, like I said, it's 1,000 a day that's being recorded. I suspect that the numbers are more because of the lack of testing or the number of tests that they're conducting. But from my experience living there for the last month, I haven't felt unsafe. Like I said, people are abiding by the health guidelines, specifically, the masks, and you just don't go anywhere without a mask, and that's a good thing. So even, for example, when you visit the cemetery, I know that some of you know or don't know, but my mom passed away and she's buried in Costa Rica. So when I go visit the cemetery, they force you to, well, they don't force you. They say you have to wash your hands before you enter, and they only allow you 20 minutes in the cemetery. And the first time I went there, I took off my mask because I was like the only person in this large space. So when the security guard walks around, he says, like, you have to put on your mask, even if you're there alone. So they're very particular with this thing, sometimes to a fault, but you have to take the good and the bad. You don't want to be going to a rally where there's no masks, and and sometimes they overextend it. So wearing a mask has been part of the culture of Costa Rica, and so a lot of people have accepted it, and I think it's for the better for everybody. So hopefully, as the vaccine, starts being infiltrated throughout the world, and Costa Rica is going to be one of those countries that's going to come out of it quite rapidly.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Okay.
Murad has a question. Before I go to Murad, yes, if that trip to Costa Rica does materialize, we will include the spouses. All right, so that'll put some minds at rest.
Spouses? What's wrong with?
I meant their spouses. Okay, Murad.
Of course, spouses. Yes, of course.
Murad, your question. unmute yourself and ask the question, please. Okay, Murad.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Walaikum salam.
Looks like I have been late. You started at 4?
Yes.
That was the time.
Okay, somehow I'm in the Pacific time, you know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Arif, congratulations. I hope we can come and see you there. The choices of staying there, B&B, hotel, or you want to be a good host?
I offer my Airbnb hotel to all of the Baraza group without you having to worry. I just need the date and time.
Yeah.
However, I'm in San Jose, so you know, I mean, you're most welcome to stay there. You might not want to stay in San Jose for the whole time.
No.
So traveling away from San Jose to the beaches area and the volcanoes, we'll have to make a plan. You know, like make a plan, and I, you know, I can assist in any way I can. I mean, I'm glad to do it.
How many days do you need?
You need at least, if you're a large group, you need more days because, you know, things move slowly, right?
More like what, 10, 12, 2 weeks?
I think 2 weeks in all, like with a couple of days rest, you know, at the arrival and a couple of days rest prior to departure would be perfect. So.
And I heard you saying, I missed a bit, that we should come all alone.
No, I didn't say that.
Nazmul is laughing, you know.
I think.
Or did you say
Ibrahim,
we
I think Ibrahim was.
I'm not part of this discussion.
No. Come with your family and friends and your obviously your spouses and for those that enjoy certain parts of it, like I think Ibrahim was asking about bird watching. It's awesome bird watching.
Yes.
A lot of people go there for bird watching. A lot of people go there for fishing. A lot of people go there for whitewater rafting. So you might find people that want to do different things. You might find some common things to do, like visit the volcano and the hot springs and the mud baths and all these kind of things. So you can plan things that are together and then plan things that, you know, everybody can do on their own time.
Actually, I'm going for a surgery, and I have told my kids that if I get a green light, all 15 of us are going to Costa Rica, you know, and they were so excited, you know.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, it will go well.
If I get a green light and everything is fine, I will keep in touch with you, and you know, we'll try to be there sometimes in January, because I don't know how traveling would be far and away, but Costa Rica might not be bad, you know.
Yeah, it's actually beautiful now, and like I said, now they've opened the border. So
Yes,
anytime
from
after
November
November
1st,
1st,
right? From next week.
Huh?
From
Pardon me?
November 1st, they're opening, right?
From November 1st, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And no testing required also, you know.
No testing, no testing.
So that's good, you know.
Okay, we are well past our time, 5 o'clock, it's 5:13. So Arif, thanks for the third time, no more questions. And really appreciate, you know, all the information you've given us. Thank you.
Wonderful.
All right, thanks all. And watch out for the announcement for the next presentation. Thank you. That
Okay.
is.
Allah Hafiz, everybody. Allah Hafiz.